Seth, do you kind of laugh at some people who are still holding on to the notion that Hollywood hasn't changed and people still should go to movies and all? I mean, the ship has sailed, has it not?
That's always been a thought that Hollywood has, you know? In, like, the '50s, people were like, "Hollywood's dead."
Yeah.
The magic of Hollywood, I think, is one movie, one weekend can change the entire outlook of the entire industry, you know what
Like
I
the
mean?
Barbie movie.
Well,
or,
honestly, and that changed the whole show. Like, the show was much more bleak as we were writing it initially, and then the Barbie Oppenheimer thing happened, and we were
Yeah.
like, everything's different. Literally, like, on Friday, it was impossible, and on Monday, it was possible.
It was possible,
And
right.
and that is, I think, also, like, what's so frustrating about Hollywood and what is alluring about these delusions of grandeur, especially if you run a movie studio, is that you think you might be the person to course correct all of the Hollywood. And what's also funny about that is singular people have done that. Like, it's an industry where you can, like, very easily root entire new directions to one person. Like, Robert Evans changed the course of Hollywood. James Cameron changed the course of Hollywood. Ted Sarandos changed the course of Hollywood. Greta Gerwig changed the course of Hollywood. Christopher Nolan changed the course of Hollywood. And it happens all the time. And so you see how I don't think I could do this, but if you were somewhat willing to buy more into the delusions of grandeur of all of it, you could view yourself as the person who single-handedly saves Hollywood, you know, and that allure is real, you know, and very frustrating, I think, to a lot of people who are then put in a position where, like, they have to choose between, do I take the swing that will maybe save Hollywood, or do I not get fired? And often they choose not get fired.
I think your new TV show has a tremendous Larry Sanders Show vibe.
For sure.
And I love that. That's my favorite sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Getting me behind the scenes of stuff. One of my favorite things about your show is you get a whole bunch of people who are actually playing themselves. Like in the first episode, Martin Scorsese is playing himself.
It's fun.
And you direct these episodes. Do you tell Martin Scorsese when he's fucking...
Yes.
You do. You give
You
them
have
notes.
to direct them. Yes, for sure. We have to give them a lot of notes, which is a nightmare. Like, directing, it was one of those things where, like, we wanted Martin Scorsese. He was, like, our ideal guy. We got Martin Scorsese. We couldn't fucking believe it. And then it, like, dawned on me and Evan, my partner. It's like, oh, now we have to direct Martin Scorsese in a movie or in a show. And it's like
the guy who made Goodfellas.
the guy who made
telling him what to do.
Like one of the greatest living filmmakers, one of the greatest directors of all time, you know, someone who also, for us personally, like, we were obsessed with Martin Scorsese. Like, when we were writing Superbad, like, weirdly, like, Goodfellas was like a huge inspiration to us, you know, and After Hours, you know, obviously, like, those kinds of movies. And so it was one of the scariest things I've ever had to do in my, like, professional career.
My audience is going to love this show, this studio, because there's one episode. There's a trailer for Johnny Knoxville's in a movie about zombies that shit radioactive material, and if it gets on you, you die.
They spread the virus with projectile diarrhea.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't think Seth's going to show this. And sure enough, there's that zombie shitting all over some actor, and it's fucking funny.
We really came alive that day on set. that was the day, like, we'd been shooting the show for, like, months, and then it was, like, the day we were shooting the zombie diarrhea, like scenes from the movie and the show. And me and Evan were like, we should be doing this. Like, we've taken a swing at elevated television, but I think at the end of the day, our calling is making projectile zombie diarrhea movies.
There's one episode I think was my favorite, was this episode about the Golden Globes, where you spend the entire episode trying to get Zoe Kravitz to thank you in her acceptance speech. Because you're so fucking depressed that Ted Sarandos
keeps getting thanked.
And it's so great.
That is very based on real life. Like, I personally have been a part of a movie that won a Golden Globe, and we went, and afterwards, we're at, like, the after party, and everyone's celebrating and going crazy. And I see one of the executives, and they're in tears. And I assume they're crying because they're happy, because our movie won a Golden Globe. And instead, we were like, "Are you crying because you're so happy?" And they were like, "No, they didn't thank me." And we were like, "Oh, no." And then we interviewed almost every head of every studio, kind of past and present, like in the months leading up to the show. And as we were writing the show, we wanted to get a lot of insight. And it was one of the most consistent things that was said to us was, you just want to be thanked at an awards show by first and last name. And it was so funny because I went to the actual Golden Globes like this year. So many people from the episode were there at the Golden Globes, and you could see they were all just like, this is so weird. We were just here. And Zoe Saldana won the Golden Globe, and Ted Sarandos was sitting like 10 feet away from me. And she almost didn't thank him. And then she thanked him very at last at the end of the speech. And he literally looked backwards at me and was like, just got it. Just made it under the wire.
It's so great, especially in the show. You actually get the real Ted Sarandos.
Yeah, we do.
Who, by the way, I was nervous for him. I'm like, oh, how's he going to do? He did a pretty good job.
He's good. He's funny. You would never know that he'd never acted before.
When you're here, you're my weed expert. You say it. I get high every single fucking day. You haven't missed a day since...
I was in Singapore once. You can't smoke weed there. Other than that, in 2012, 2011, I was in Singapore for 3 days. So those days I didn't smoke weed because they'll literally fucking kill you if you smoke weed in that country. They put a little thing in your passport when you arrive that says, if we find drugs on you, we will execute you. And I can't tell you how many times I've flown places and then got there and opened a pocket or something and be like, oh shit, there's a fucking roach in my pocket. But so that was a scary walk through the airport in Singapore.
I guess that is a good deterrent. It really works. We're going to kill you.
It's a good deterrent. If you ever have a drug problem, go to Singapore.
And by the way, you had to have had some sort of at least psychological withdrawal. You probably were like crawling up the wall saying,
no, I was okay.
You know?
I'll resort to, there's plenty of other things to get fucked. Luckily, you can just drink yourself into oblivion in Singapore. They don't give a shit about that.
Here is my weed question of the day, which you can only answer. Why are people who are into weed now still buying illegal weed?
There's a few reasons. One,
I knew you'd have the answer. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
One is allegiance, or I was in this situation where I bought weed off these guys in L.A. And meanwhile, like, legal weed was kind of coming into the market, and I just felt bad for them. Like, I literally just knew. It's like that mom and pop store that you go to, and you know that like you're without your business, they're like one purchase away from closing every week, and if you weren't there, they would maybe close. How
long did you stick with your dealer?
For a little while, I would do both. I would go buy weed at the store, and then every few weeks I would throw the guys a bone and meet them in some sketchy fucking place and buy weed from them. Well, then eventually I was like, where do you get this weed? And the guy was like, honestly, we just get it at the store also. And I was like, they just get it. I was like, I could tell as he was saying it, he was like, oh no, I shouldn't be saying this. Like, I could literally see on his face, he was like, I let the cat out of the bag on that one.